2019 season is officially over for the Dallas Cowboys, despite expectations that were high from fans, coaches, and ownership with Jerry Jones. This season came to an end with an 8-8 record and another season without a playoff appearance. There's a lot of blame to go around for this team. I'm now joined by Silver Star Nation insider Mickey Spagnola. It's easy to put the blame on head coach Jason Garrett. Obviously there's a lot surrounding that right now, but if you were to pinpoint one thing that was the cause for them not living up to the expectations, what would it be?
Well, obviously being inconsistent in your play, not only from game to game, but almost from quarter to quarter. They just didn't play on a consistent basis, and wherever you want to put that blame, put it as you may. But again, and that's why you end up 8-8, right? You were good some of the time, and some of the time you weren't very good. I thought the thing that differentiated this season from last season is last year of their 10 victories, 8 of them they won by 1 score. So 7 points or less. This year they lost 6 of those games and only won 1 of them. So to me, that was the difference, and I've always felt like you don't win all those close games, and at some point they even out. And maybe it didn't even out last year, but it evened out this year. They didn't make plays down the stretch, critical plays, execution problems, guys making mistakes, maybe a bad play call, a bad decision, but you got to win those close games. And I talked about this earlier. I just give you one example. The Seahawks are going into the playoffs 11-5. In 10 of their games, they were 1-score games. They won 2 games in overtime and 2 games by 1 point. And if you look at the teams in the playoffs, they do well in those close games. The Cowboys did not play well enough in the close games to win enough to get into the playoffs.
You've been covering the Cowboys for several years. If you look back at this 2019 team, what is it that you will most likely remember the most about this season?
Just disappointing, and disappointing not for a reason like in past years when they didn't get in the playoffs or you thought they had a good team and things fell apart. They had a quarterback injury, didn't have a good enough backup behind them. That certainly happened in 2015 here. 2017, Zeke gets suspended 6 games. They just weren't the same team without him. And I can look back in other years where quarterbacks have been injured. Romo would get injured in 2008. They lost 2 of those 3 games. They missed the playoffs by 1 game. They lost Romo in 2010. Things fell apart. I can take you all the way back to, 1986 when Danny White had this team with a 6-2 record, tied for first in the NFC East with the Giants. And in the next game, Game 9 against the Giants, he broke his wrist, was out for the rest of the season, and all the Cowboys did was win 1 more game, and the Giants never lost another game. And the Cowboys were the #1 offense in the league at that time before Danny White broke his wrist. So when I look back over some of the seasons when they didn't play well, it seemed like there was a reason. They weren't very good, or they lost a quarterback. But this time, they really didn't lose anybody that significant to cause them to come up, 1, 2 wins short. They just didn't play well enough, and I think that was the most disappointing part of this entire year.
Well, it was definitely a disappointing season. We really appreciate talking to you all season long, Mickey, and have a happy New Year.
Okay, you too. Thanks a lot.